Gen 4 is going to change everything for Champions TCG. I've been working with this game since the very start of the year, back like in early January when they only had 20 or 30 daily active players. Now Champions has hundreds of people playing every day. The game is growing quickly, and it's been really cool to see it sort of start to find itself and see the community really start to take off. Watching a game grow from the ground floor, it's been very exciting. So the fact that Gen 4, Generation 4, the new and final expansion in the base set of Champions, the fact that it looks so good, so fun, so interesting, has me absolutely pumped. So let's jump right into it. This document is a list of all the new keywords, everything that's been changed or added to the game, and it is seriously so much stuff. It is crazy. Before Gen 4, we have 33 keywords, and in this game, every ability is a keyword, so keywords are essentially the amount of unique effects in the game. Every effect is in the form of a keyword on a creature, although future sets are going to have other card types like, enchantments or spells or what have you. But right now, everything is a creature with a keyword. We had 33 of those before Gen 4. After Gen 4, we have 67 keywords. Also, I will just say it up front, if you're going to buy gems for the new expansion, to buy packs, use code QFlux. You'll save 10%, and I do get a commission on that. Like I mentioned, I've been partnered with the game all year. Very excited to keep working with them. So it is a sponsored relationship or what have you, just for full disclosure. With that said, these keywords are super crazy. We're doubling the amount of keywords, but also like the keywords that are being added seem more interesting, or like they have more room to create new kinds of decks. So it's not just more quantity of keywords. It also feels like a higher quality of keywords with more interesting things to work with. So that, combined with the fact that it's doubling the amount of keywords in the game overall, adding as many new keywords in Gen 4 as we did in the first 3 gens combined, it just feels like this is going to be a moment where this game gets really interesting. So I am pumped. I could keep talking and being all excited, but instead, let me make the camera a little bigger. I feel like I'm kind of small here. And let's start going through these keywords. We'll do a little game. I'll predict what's going to be very strong or playable or bad. We'll color code it as we go. And the link to this doc is going to be in the description in case you want to look at my predictions. Although I'm probably going to get a bunch of this wrong. It's almost impossible to predict what's good before the set is out, especially because I can't see like what the stats are on these creatures. So what are the stats going to be with the keyword? I don't know. All right, let's go through them. There's so much new stuff. So right away, first off, all the keywords that go with every element. Right away, equip gives an ability to the targeted card. So we're going to have equipment type of cards that you can attach to another card, similar to enchantments or equipment artifacts in Magic the Gathering. That's immediately super interesting. Upgrades, as they're called in Parallel, are a big part of Parallel's meta. Like, there's a whole big focus on these cards that are used to upgrade other creatures. And it's always interesting because upgrades can be very powerful, because they also have a downside where if an upgraded creature gets destroyed, the upgrade is also destroyed. So it's, if the opponent destroys an equipped creature, it can get a 2-for-1 value trade by using one card to remove 2 cards, which makes equipment and enchantments and stuff tough to pull off, but potentially also lets the designers make those cards very strong. So equipping could be really cool. It's such a generic ability that I'm just going to give it a yellow for playable, because it really depends on what the equipment does. Berserker is being adjusted. So this has already existed as when this card takes damage, it gains, I think, 4 attack, and that's still the default. But now it's going to have variable attack buff. So you could have a Berserker card that only gains 1 attack when it takes damage, or you could have something crazy like a 1 attack, 5 health creature, but when it takes damage, it gains 10 attack. You could have some really wacky stuff. So this could be interesting. Berserker hasn't been very strong so far, but if you make X higher, so it's more than 4, it could be cool. I don't actually see Berserker being that good, because it feels like it's going to be weak unless you can combine it with like guard or barrier, whatever it's called in this game. I'm playing too many card games, but Aegis is what it's called, blocking the first time it gets damaged. Like, you need some way to buff the attack and then protect it. So I don't know. I don't know. It's going to need some synergies. Like, it's just hard to set up Berserker. Oh, wrong color. Bear with me here. It's hard to set up Berserker and not have the creature die before it's good. Armored. Direct attack damage this card takes is reduced by X. I'm guessing this is going to be very strong because Gods Unchained has armor, and they made it way too strong when they first added it to the game. There's a card in Gods Unchained called Guild Enforcer. I mean, we're chilling. I can pull it up. Basically, it is a 3 attack, 5 health card with 1 armor. And armor does exactly the same thing. It reduces the received damage by 1. If you attack this creature, it takes 1 less damage because it has 1 armor. But originally, this card was 3 attack, 4 health, and 2 armor. It's also got Frontline, which is the same thing as Provoke in Champions. Besides the point, though, it used to have 2 armor. When this card had 2 armor, it was broken. It was super, super broken. They had to take it down to 1 armor. And in general, this armor effect in Gods Unchained is basically only ever used with 1, because more than 1 armor is pretty insane. Like, it's super broken usually. So good chance Armored is going to be overpowered at first, because it's easy to underestimate when you're designing it just how strong it's going to be. Next up, Obliterate. I put some asterisks next to the ones that seem super interesting. I don't know if this is even going to be that strong in the current version of the game, but Obliterate, remove a card and all copies of it from the game, bypassing all other effects. The fact that it removes all the copies of it from the game takes it a step beyond the usual exile / remove from game effect. Removing all copies as well, like out of the deck, out of the hand. I guess it'll pull it out of the hand. Like, it's really obliterating the hell out of that card. The thing is, most Champions constructed decks don't rely on 1 card in particular. It's not like Gods Unchained, or even maybe Parallel to some extent, Goon Wars, like a lot of these other games where you might have 1 key card you're building around. Champions has always been a little bit weird in that, like, usually don't have 1 clear win condition. It's usually a combination of, like, multiple cards that share a keyword or something. So obliterating 1 thing, is it going to be strong? Maybe. I'm going to do a hot take and say that in the short term, this is actually going to be bad. I don't think it's good in the current meta, and I don't think it's going to be good in the upcoming meta. But I do think years from now, in expansions in the future, this could become insanely strong. So bad short term, potentially very strong in future sets. I got to have some spicy opinions. It's actually a really fun effect, so it gets the asterisks, which means I noticed it when I was going through this. Next up, Wealth Tax. Each player takes damage equal to the amount of cards in their hand. I just realized it targets both players, so it's a double-edged sword. This seems like it could be good in a burn deck. If you're going to use Vortex, which is the effect we already have that does damage directly to face, and then maybe you use stuff like Combustion, which can target face, just any effects that target face, I think this could add to that as part of an overall burn package. I actually want to write down ideas as I go. I should probably focus on the video, but yeah, I'm already getting ideas. I want to write that down. That's a good deck idea. I'll have to go back through this. So yeah, that I think is at least very playable. I wouldn't say very strong, but in the right deck, I think that could work. Steal, draw the top card of the enemy deck. It's good in a card advantage sense. Whenever you're drawing a card, that's usually good, and drawing from the enemy's deck is still good because it's still giving you extra cards. But, you're not stealing a card from their hand. You're not picking a certain card. You're just kind of drawing something random. It's unlikely to affect their, win condition. Also, like I said, because you're not going to get, 1 specific card. Usually the way the game works, they'll have multiple options. Playable because it's a draw, but I don't know if it's that strong. I think you'd rather just draw from your own deck. The way this game works right now, I think you'd rather draw from your own deck. I like this one, Yeet. Discard a random card from your hand to deal X damage to the enemy player. X might be, I don't know if it's related to, maybe the card's energy cost, or if it's just going to be a random number or, a specific number. I don't know how that number of damage will be decided, but this is just like Wealth Tax, where it could fit into a burn deck. You just want to burn the opponent's face. Playable. Not insane. A whole lot of yellow. It's looking very yellow so far. Overkill, extra damage hits the enemy player directly. Another one that fits into the whole burn thing. I don't know. I guess overkill is pretty insane if you're clearing out small creatures. Uh, is it gonna be super good? Like, I feel like overkill is best when it actually can hit other creatures on the board. Like the way it works in Gods Unchained. Going directly to face, I think that's how it works in Magic. I don't know if that's as good. I'm gonna toss a red on that. I have a weird feeling that might actually just not be very good. Oh, I keep doing the background highlight. Weird feeling because it just hits their face. It's a little bit hard to like set it up and control it. Not that much better than just going face. Like you're killing a small creature and then the extra damage. It's a little better than going face. I don't know if this is going to be that good. And then, all right, Hong Kong, clearly from the description, just sounds bizarre. Play a horn, then lose the game. Don't know what that's about. Lose the game. Whenever your card has the text, then lose the game, it's usually not good. Usually that's not a good sign. So that's probably bad. Although I'm curious, what's that? What's that? What does it mean to play a horn? And why are we trying to lose the game? Or what is the horn gonna? I don't know. Is the horn some kind of final challenge? Can you win before this text? I don't. Yeah, not sure about that. All right, now we got fire specific. We got all the different class specific abilities. I told you guys, there's a lot of abilities here. First off, wildfire. Also, if you got this far, please like the video, leave a comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Wildfire, already in the game, when you play a card, deal X damage to a random enemy card. It's just that it's used to always be 1, and now it's default 1. So you could have Wildfire that deals 2 damage at a time, or 3 damage at a time, which is good. Current Wildfire is mostly unplayable. Blazebark, just Blazebark, right? I mean, or maybe Incendistair are the 2 cards you'd see, but they usually don't make the cut in Constructed outside of maybe some budget decks. So increasing the power of Wildfire could be interesting. It's been kind of bad so far, but if you make X higher than 1, probably starts to get pretty good. Honestly, Wildfire, just in my experience, isn't quite consistent enough or good enough. It's honestly like my gut says it's still going to be bad, but I'll be happy if I'm wrong because I enjoy playing Incendistair. There's something fun about just like playing more cards and dripping out damage onto the board. I want it to be good, but I think it's going to be bad. Combustion, they made random when it wasn't random before. Well, it used to be random, then they made it not random. Now they're making it more random again. Avoiding too many details. Now what it says is deal 5 to 8 damage to anything, and then you lose 5 to 8 life. So I don't know if you're always going to lose the same amount of life that you did damage, or are those 2 separate rolls? But I'm a little disappointed it's random. I liked it just being 6. I like knowing how much damage I'm going to do with combustion. For example, when I'm doing lethal at the end of a long game. I'm not a huge fan of the randomness there. With that said, I do think combustion is very good. In general, it's very, very good. Although, you know, there's more options now. So maybe combustion won't be as good. Let's actually, you know, I think it's very good now, but it might be worse with this new set because there's going to be other options. So let's make it yellow because I think it might be less played as more options are added. Inferno, not much has changed, but instead of damaging 2 random enemy cards, now it damages a variable amount of random enemy cards, defaulting to 2. But you could have an Inferno card that targets 1 random enemy, or 5, or who knows. It's still a massive 1 to 7 damage range on Inferno, so people who think Champions has too much RNG, you're going to continue to be sad. I'm going to make Inferno yellow because it's good removal, but I feel like as more removal options are added to the game, Inferno is less desirable because of how inconsistent it can be. Unless they make some insane ones where it's like hitting a bunch of targets. Smoldering, I don't know what Lucy is. I mean, let's double check in case. I don't know if Lucy is already in the. Didn't look. Let me see, because there's another card that references turdies, which are in the game. Lucy. Yeah, I mean, if I just search the marketplace, nothing comes up for Lucy. I don't think we know what that is yet. So we have no idea if this is going to be good or bad. When this card dies, it summons 3 Lucy. No way to know. I'm gonna guess based on Shatter and how good Shatter is with the afterlife that summons ice cubes. I'm gonna take a shot in the dark and just say it's gonna be amazing. Just with no information, I'm gonna give it a green and say it's gonna be amazing. All right, so next up, water. They changed Vortex a little bit. Old version was to directly damage the enemy player for 3 to 5 random roll. Now it's X, a variable amount, which defaults to 4. So you could have stronger or weaker Vortex amount, which I think is probably cool. Either way is fine. It was fine the old way. This is cool. It's probably just another one of those yellow, like it's playable in a burn deck and probably like reasonable in limited formats, at least if you don't have a better option. Vortex is at least not terrible. It's like one of the weaker effects because it's only good if you actually are going to get that. Like, it's good if you're getting close to killing them. It's fucking useless if you're falling behind on the board and they have tons of health. So it's definitely situational, but yeah, Vortex will probably be pretty similar. Revitalize. Every time this card attacks the enemy player, you gain 1 mana. I mean, Energy Ramp is really rare in Champions so far, and it seems really strong. Only thing I'm noticing is it has to attack the enemy player, so it's not going to activate this when you attack a creature, if I'm reading it correctly. I think this will be pretty damn good, though. Card draw is plentiful in Champions between Greed, Keyword, and Windseeker. There's tons of draw. So ramping mana is not really available very much yet, but it's very strong in theory. So I think that's actually going to be very good. And then Ocean's Wrath, another one. We don't know what it's summoning. Dreadfin, Krakapus, Abyssalisk. Unless those are all cards already in the... oh, actually, I think they are, huh? So Dreadfin is a Gen 1 card, which is 4 attack. I don't know why this one's not loading, but it's 4 attack, 2 health, Vortex. And I guess you'll get the key. Yeah, that's that right there. Krakapus. Krakapus is a 5 cost, 7/5 Vortex. Oh, I guess it's going to be random then. If it wasn't random, you'd always pick the strongest one. Then Abyssalisk is the top evolution. I see. So basically, it summons one of three Vortex guys, which could be as much as a 9/8. Oh, that seems crazy then. It depends. Is it even? Like, is it an even chance of getting any of the 3, or is this super rare and this is super common? I don't know. But potentially insane. I keep clicking the wrong thing here. Potentially insane. I'm making that one a green. That seems like it could be absolutely nutty. I mean, imagine you're chilling at the start of your turn, summoning an extra Abyssalisk. That's beyond. That's just beyond crazy. That's crazy. Wow. So nature, Life Bloom, they made it a variable amount, so increase the HP of any card or player by X. Default is 4, but now they could choose other amounts. Regrowth, again, same as before, but variable amount. On death, increase the HP of all your cards on the field by X. It'll default to 3, but it can have other options. And then I think, Life Bloom is like not that good, but it is playable. There's a few exceptions like Spriggan that can be really good. But I'd actually make that yellow. It's good. Occasionally it's great. Regrowth is bad, at least so far. It's just too slow. Wrong color there. It's too slow and not really like, it's great in theory, but in practice you're not going to get enough value on it in a way that matters. Now, this is a big new one. Fungal Spores. Deal 5 damage to all cards with 5 HP or less. This will hit your board as well as the opponent. It's not only hitting the opponent, it's a double-edged sword again. Still, that's one of the strongest area of effect removal effects, one of the strongest AoE effects we've seen in this whole game. That's super nutty. So my initial impression is that's going to be really, really strong. Initial impression. By the way, do y'all like how we're in night mode? I finally I fixed the background color in Google Docs. So hope you guys appreciate we're not staring at a white background the whole time. All right, we still got a ways to go. I'm going to try to go a little faster here. Jeez. This is whatever. Sip the coffee, keep going. This is always what it's like reviewing a trading card game thing. It's just like text on text on text. Next up. Big change to Earthquake. Actually, a big change to Earthquake. instead of being 2 or 3 random, which is pretty frustrating sometimes because you have a lot of coin flips that really matter. Now it's just going to be a single amount, which can vary. So it defaults to 2, but you could have stronger or weaker earthquakes. So it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, right? Earthquake is already super strong. I think it'll only continue to be strong, even stronger when it's more consistent. Even though by default, if it's only doing 2, it's actually a nerf. If like old earthquake cards are basically nerfed now because they could have done 2 to 3, and instead now they're only doing 2. Still, I think it's going to be. I should make it a green. It's going to be really good, I think. I'm pretty sure Earthquake will still be really good. I don't know, though. Is fungal spores and other stuff going to overshadow it? Maybe Earthquake finally falls off. I have a hard time not making it green, though. Mud Flood, next one. Shuffle X turdies into the enemy's deck, and it stops giving us default amounts now for all these variable effects. Like, there's a spreadsheet I looked at and got all this info from. I think I showed it to you guys at the start. If I didn't, from the Discord, here's what it looks like. I copied a lot of stuff over, but they stopped giving the default amounts like halfway through. So I don't know what the default's going to be, but giving your opponent bad draws seems very, very strong. As long as it doesn't cost you too much of your own tempo. The only thing is, actually, maybe I said that wrong, because like it's strong if they draw the cards, but here's the risk, right? You spend time playing Mud Flood, you shuffle turdies into their deck, and they never draw them, and then it's like you never did anything. I actually suspect that Mud Flood is like a noob trap kind of effect. In a game like Champions with a lot of draw, and the deck is 35 cards, it's not huge, but it's big enough. I actually don't think Mud Flood is going to be very strong. It's like too inconsistent, and you're not really able to like plan around it enough. It's like, yes, you're hindering your opponent, but not in a specific enough way. You're just like being a nuisance, but you're not really like setting up a big win, you know? I mean, if their card's screwed, this will keep them screwed, but it just doesn't seem like it's very effective. Could be wrong, though. It's a fun idea to play with. Rock Solid sounds nuts. Immune to retaliation damage. That means, I believe, if I'm understanding this, when your creature with Rock Solid attacks another creature, it takes no damage back. So every attack is as if it was attacking a frozen creature, like a creature you use Blizzard on. I think Rock Solid is crazy, as long as they don't make them too understated, which they usually don't. Usually stat lines in this game are pretty big. So like, if Rock Solid is on a creature with a good stat line, that card's going to be amazing. Next up, Sandstorm. Blind all cards on enemy field for 1 turn. They can't target anything. I don't know if this means you can't attack, or if it just means when you play cards from your hand, you can't target anything, so you can't like use targeting keywords. It really depends how this card works. If it only stops them from targeting in hand, it's still pretty good, because if you're ahead on the board, Sandstorm is going to make it really hard for your opponent to answer the board. If it stops the opponent from attacking, it's like super strong. I kind of doubt it's going to do that, though. I think Sandstorm could be crazy. That sounds like a really strong effect. The Earth effects, in general, looking pretty damn strong, apart from Mud Flood. Next up, Ice. Icicle, deal X damage to anything. Another burn effect. This one can target face or a creature, which makes it better than your average burn, because it can go either way. I'd actually make that a green. It's yellow, like it's playable by default. If it's just any kind of reasonable burn is usually playable, at least in a burn deck. But the fact that it can also be used as removal makes it not just burn, but also useful for more of a control defense capacity. Letting this card keyword play both offense and defense and doing something very powerful. So high potential for Icicle. Dealing damage is strong. Who would have thought? And then Deep Freeze, very interesting. Another card denial. Enemy player can't draw cards from their deck next turn. This seems much stronger than Mud Flood. Like, Mud Flood is like, if they draw one of those turdies, they drew a card that doesn't help them. Deep Freeze is just, they don't draw, guaranteed not drawing, therefore missing a draw. Like, this is the better version of Mud Flood. And, I mean, honestly, this seems like it could be very oppressive. In the right deck, that could be super strong. It is a little tough to, like, depending on how the stat line of the card is. If it's like a 1/1 Deep Freeze, I don't know, actually. That just seems really cracked. because the way it's worded, it's not even just the first draw at the start of the turn. It also says they can't draw. So like they can't play Greed or Windseeker. That actually seems fucking strong. It's like the top of the dock had a bunch of weaker stuff. Like all these were like, okay, I don't know. Okay, I don't know. And now it's like, oh, all of a sudden we're hitting a bunch of strong effects. Now they finally did something to Whirlwind. Send any card with X HP or less back to the owner's hand. So this is new. With X HP or less. That condition is new, defaulting to 5. So bigger cards don't just immediately get countered by Whirlwind. Cards that cost more than like 3 don't have to have guard to be playable anymore. So Whirlwind is probably still ridiculously strong, but hopefully this takes it down to the playable but not super strong zone, which is probably better for the game because Whirlwind has been too oppressive, and it also is like really bad for limited formats. It just feels really bad, especially if this happens like in sealed or in draft. Not sealed, but arena or draft. Like when you get whirlwinded 2 or 3 times in a row at the start of the game and then you never come back, you're always behind from that point. That's always like a really lame way, it feels like a lame way to lose. So I hope this tempers that vibe, makes that less of a thing. Very happy to see this change. We'll see what happens there. I put asterisks on all these air cards, all these air effects, because they're so interesting. Typhoon. Every enemy, including enemy player, takes 8 damage. That sounds like the strongest AoE damage effect in the game. So clearly very strong green, like S tier effect. I don't know. I don't really know what like balances. It's just going to be an expensive mana cost, I guess, because that's just a really strong effect. If it's on a cheap enough card, that's going to be overpowered as like crazy. Like crazy, man. And then this one is nutty. Professor Oak, anybody? Professor Oak from Pokemon base set. Discard your hand and draw that many cards +1. Sure, you're losing your hand, and you're also rushing towards fatigue. So using an effect like Lucky Gust means you're at big risk of taking fatigue damage. Still, I'm making it green because it sounds absolutely cracked. There's a reason my Professor Oak was considered like so strong in Pokemon TCG. Like, drawing a full new hand is one of the strongest things you can have the option to do. I mean, it's a lot of green. A lot of these effects look really strong. I'm not trying to make everything green, but like so much stuff seems strong here. Of course, it's going to be extremely dependent on what cards they're on, what's the energy cost. So this is a very silly prediction list. We're really just doing it for fun. Next up, dark effects. Curse. They made it a variable amount. Reduce the attack and HP of any card by X. Default 2. Used to be always 2. Now it's a variable. I think Curse is a little underrated, but it's certainly a yellow. It's playable, but not like insanely good. Hex is a really weird sounding one. Hex turns any card into a random card with 3 HP or less. So hard removal, really. You can turn your opponent's 9 energy, huge creature into any random little card. Like, it doesn't matter how big their card is. It just becomes something with really low HP, which means it'll usually be a low energy, low power card. Like, usually it's going to be something bad. So this is actually very strong removal. Has potential to be some of the strongest removal in the game. Because, sure, technically it's transforming a card. It's not killing a card, but it's basically going to be a way to kill one of your opponent's creatures. And then Shrouded, this card cannot be directly targeted or attacked until it attacks the first time. A hidden style effect, just from playing Gods Unchained with lots of hidden effects. I know this can be really strong. There is a lot of AoE effects, a lot of removal that does damage to the whole board, so that stuff will still hit Shrouded creatures. I'm going to give it a yellow to start, but depending how it's designed, it could end up being super strong. I hope Shrouded creatures aren't too strong, because very strong hidden stuff can be pretty frustrating, as we've learned from Gods Unchained. Next up, the Light. Bless has become a variable amount. Increase the attack of any card by X. Default to 3. Bless has always been mid. Good but not amazing. Playable but not like crazy. I think it's still going to be the case. Retribution, another one, just becomes a variable amount. On death, damage every card on the enemy field for X. Default 4. Great when it works, but the fact that you have to play the card and then it has to die makes it very hard to pull it off in a way that's favorable, especially in constructed. It's just like hard to get value from Retribution. In fact, I would actually make it a red. I think Retribution is generally bad. You don't want to run it in constructed decks, with some rare exceptions, as well as maybe occasionally running like Miri in a budget deck or something. I just think as Gen 4 drops, we have even better options for removal. Retribution gets even weaker when it already is kind of not that good. Light of Aldrich on death. This card comes back to life at full HP, 1 charge. Completely depends on what card it's on, but dying and then immediately coming back is pretty damn good. That's a very sticky effect. Like, it's so hard for your opponent to remove all your creatures when you have Light of Aldrich on the board. Give it a yellow with potential to be green depending what it's on. Holy War, I'm just going to give green instantly. This is a win condition, and this actually might be an example of the kind of thing you would want to obliterate to remove all copies of it from the game. And like, this is where obliterate, if it is going to get played and maybe it's strong, if I'm giving it a red when I shouldn't be, like, maybe this is the kind of thing obliterate counters, because you would want to remove this from your opponent's deck. This is going to be a thing people build around for sure. While this card is on the field, every light card on your field gains +4/+4 and rush, giving every light card rush. That's going to be crazy. There's going to be some kind of maybe 1-turn kill deck, maybe just like aggro face damage deck. Holy War Light is going to be a thing. Rush decks, if they're going to come back, Holy War is going to be a big part of that. This is going to be really interesting for the aggro style. Okay, we're getting there. Death. Soul Reaper, they've made it variable, so when any other card dies, this card gains X attack and HP, defaulting to 1. Soul Reaper is interesting because it's very strong in limited formats, but pretty much unplayed in constructed. And I don't really think it should be stronger because it would just be way too strong for limited. So I don't know, but like maybe they'll print some ridiculous Soul Reapers. I'm going to give it a red for constructed, but with the understanding that in limited formats, these rankings are just based on constructed. Again, with the understanding this whole thing is kind of silly. We're just making some very early predictions for fun. Okay, so Death's a big one. You saw Holy War for light, Death Wish for death. Lose 60 life, play your entire hand for no mana cost, and draw 9. So you start with 60 life. You're going to have to heal yourself before you ever play this. I guess Death Wish decks will use a lot of Life Bloom to increase health, as well as Equality, which is another effect that increases health. Death Wish Equality decks, Morris finally going to see play. I mean, this is probably terrible, but I hope it's good. I got to give it a red. I think this is probably not going to be strong. I hope I'm wrong, though. I hope this ends up... I guess I just hope if it is strong, it doesn't, like, ruin the whole meta. This is one of those things that, like, if it's too good, it goes from fun and wacky to really fucking annoying. Imagine your opponent is, like, dumping their hand on turn 2 over and over and redrawing 9. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that shit could suck. Cool design. We'll see. I'm going to give it a red because, like, I'd rather it suck than it be too good. Hopefully it's going to be, like, a fun meme deck, but not strong enough to crush the meta. That's ideal. That's a good off-meta kind of keyword. And then Lifesteal, pretty classic. Lifelink and Magic, Leech and Gods Unchained. I think is it Leech in Moon Wars as well. Every game has something like this. This card gains HP equal to the damage it does. Oh, okay, so actually... Never mind, it's a little different. I thought it would heal your face, but it gains HP to the creature. So when the creature does damage, that creature gains the HP. Okay, that's actually different than I thought. Lifelink and Leech heal you in the face in those other games, but this one is going to add the HP to the creature itself. So a twist on Lifelink. That's actually kind of a fun twist. Probably pretty good. I'm guessing Lifesteal might be, like, really good. I'm tempted to give it a green. I'm going to give it a low-key green. I think Lifesteal, now that I realize it gives the HP to the creature, that's probably better than traditional Lifelink type stuff. All right, Lightning. Stormcaller. When this card attacks, all lightning cards on your field gain +X/+X. It's going to be slow to pull this off. It seems like a weaker version of Otherworldly. Like, if you play Otherworldly, it immediately buffs stuff. Whereas this, you play Stormcaller, wait, and then attack. The flip is that this can attack multiple times across the turns, and it could keep buffing over time. So it does have more value potential, but the tempo being an entire turn slower seems bad. I think this is all video, wrong colors and stuff. Sorry about that. But yeah, like this is just a worse version of Otherworldly, I think, even though it looks exciting on the surface. Thunderbolt's really interesting. Deal X damage to the enemy player for each card they have on the field. Another face damage card, another yellow like burn spell for a burn deck. There's going to be a few different ways to try to build burn. And yeah, I think we're going to see some significant burn aggro stuff in the meta. What has it been? I mean, Thunderbolt, Typhoon does damage to face, Icicle, what else? Vortex is still there. Combustion is there, if not even stronger. Overkill, Wealth Tax, Yeet. I mean, that's a lot of burn keywords. All right, home stretch, Cosmic. Singularity has been updated, so instead of happening right away with the different designs they had in Gen 3, now it's going to be after one full turn. So I guess the start of the turn, the start of your next turn after playing it, I guess is what that means. Just like you play it, your opponent has their turn, and then this activates, I think. Destroy all cards on the field. This card gets +4/+4 for each card destroyed. So detonate, destroy the whole board, and create one big boy. And then just play something else right away so you don't get fuku'd by the new Quantum Shift. But this actually might be good now. I have a weird gut feeling this version of Singularity is going to accomplish what they wanted, which is to make it like this huge bomb that can like threaten the whole game, but it takes a turn to set up, which is better than the old design. Because at first they announced it as being something ridiculously broken, then they changed it and nerfed it to the ground and killed it before it even launched. So we'll see if this is kind of what they were originally going for. Quantum Shift, it's been nerfed. I don't know, it might actually still be good. I'm going to give it yellow, not red. But bro, I don't even know what color I've been using. This one, right? It used to just be able to steal any creature, and Fuku as a 1-mana mind control was the most broken thing any of us ever saw. Now it's going to be swap this card with the lowest HP card on the enemy field. So instead of your choice, it's always the lowest HP card on the enemy field. Much more balanced. Just a much better design. Thank you for fixing Quantum Shift. Time Warp is fascinating. Force a card to evolve X times. I guess that means you don't have to play the evolution. It just automatically turns into the evolution, like transforms into its evolution. You're not like needing the card to be there to evolve it with. That could be nuts. I mean, evolutions are really strong even if you need to get the card to use. So if you just Time Warp and you don't even need the evolution, you can just evolve it as a transformation. I think Time Warp could be very, very strong. Then Infinite Strike. Interesting design. This card can attack again if it just attacked an enemy card. So if you have a big creature with Infinite Strike, you can like attack one at a time and wipe out their whole board. Just letting your best creature really do work. It sounds like it could be good. Definitely depends. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too generous with a yellow. This might end up being, you know what? I actually am. I think it's bad. I think it's bad. I just realized it's not going to be good. It's a fun effect, but it would only be good if it was combined with like Blitz, like Rush. You know, it has to be able to attack immediately. Probably not good enough, assuming you have to wait a turn. So, all right, there you go. We went through all the stuff. Predicted everything. Y'all, Gen 4 is going to be amazing. Make sure you use code QFlux for 10% off those gems. And I will see you all in the Champions battlefield. I can't wait for Gen 4. It's going to be so much fun. This video is so much longer than I thought it would be. These card game updates always take a long time to go through, but it's fun. This is cool. I'm excited. So, all right, thanks for watching. That's all I got. Flux signing out.